Beloved, if you receive this message on June 19, understand that it is not by chance. This day, this moment, this very breath you're taking, it is a divine interruption. It is heaven placing a hand on your shoulder, gently turning you around to face what you've been running from, what you've buried, what you've forgotten was sacred. This is not just a day on a calendar. This is an altar in time, a call to awaken, a whisper from eternity. June 19 is not a warning of fear, but of love. It is not a punishment, but a pause, a divine checkpoint, a celestial redirection. If you are hearing these words, then know, truly know that God is pursuing you, not because he is angry, but because he refuses to allow you to keep living beneath your calling, because your purpose is crying out from the corners of your soul, desperate to be heard, because what you've been calling survival is not the life he designed for you, because there is more, so much more. You may be tired. You may be carrying disappointments that have stacked so high they've become a skyline of grief. You may feel forgotten, discarded, overlooked. You may have rehearsed your failures so many times that you've forgotten how to imagine your triumphs. But let me tell you something. God has not forgotten you, not for a moment, not through your tears, not in your silence, not even when you stop believing in yourself. He has been there in the echoes, in the spaces between breaths, in the moments when you wanted to quit but somehow didn't. This message is not just a reminder, it's a reckoning. It's the thunder before the rain. It is the wind before the wave. If you are receiving this on June 19, know that the timing is divine, because God operates in seasons, not seconds. He moves not just through time, but through meaning. And this moment has meaning. This date has meaning. It is a mirror inviting you to see what you've become and what you are yet to be. And both matter, because grace meets you where you are, but never leaves you where it found you. There are times in life when God will disturb your comfort to deliver your calling, when he will let the ground shake beneath your feet, not to harm you, but to dislodge what was never meant to be permanent. If things have been falling apart, maybe they are also falling into place. If doors have closed, maybe they were never meant to be yours. If you've been rejected, maybe heaven was redirecting you. Stop mourning over the roots that didn't lead anywhere and start praising for the ones that haven't been revealed yet. Let's speak plainly. Your soul has been aching. You've been surviving on fragments. You've been smiling while breaking. But the Spirit of God says enough. Enough with pretending, enough with shrinking, enough with numbing, enough with settling for the shadows when you were born to walk in light. This is your call back to life, a holy disruption, a sacred notice that where you are is not the end, but the intersection. You can either go deeper into the wilderness of avoidance or rise into the wilderness of purpose. God is not warning you because you failed, but because you're still his, because he knows the treasures buried under your fears, because he still sees you. There is something so sacred about being seen. In a world that moves fast and forgets quickly, God remembers. Every tear, every silent prayer, every moment you chose hope when despair would have been easier. He's seen it all, and he's been weaving it together even when you thought he was silent. If you receive this message on June 19, consider what this day is calling out of you. It is not just a warning, it's an invitation to reflect, to realign, to rise. God is not calling you out to shame you. He is calling you out to set you free. Sometimes freedom feels like fire. It burns away the lies. It exposes the wounds. But then, oh beloved, then it refines. You emerge stronger, clearer, truer. You become who you were always meant to be. Do not let the pain of your past dictate the vision of your future. You have been entrusted with breath, with time, with the mystery of another day. That means your story is not finished. That means heaven is still investing in your becoming. Don't you dare call yourself broken when God calls you becoming. Don't you dare call this the end when God is just shifting the scenery. You see, growth rarely feels like glory. It often feels like grief, like shedding skins, like losing people you thought would stay, like learning how to be alone without being lonely. lonely, like finding your voice and realizing it no longer fits the rooms you used to occupy. But do not fear the stretching. It is holy. It is necessary. It is the evidence that you are not stagnant, that something is shifting, that heaven has placed its hands on your shoulders and is guiding you toward the light. There is a calling on your life, a weight you are made to carry, not of burden, but of purpose. It may not look like anyone else's. That's the beauty of divine design. God doesn't make duplicates. You are an original, crafted with intent, formed with fire, molded by mercy. The very things you thought disqualified you are the marks that set you apart. Your scars speak, your journey sings, your resilience testifies. You've walked through fire and came out breathing. You've endured storms and still kept your heart open. Do you understand how holy that is? Do you understand how rare it is to keep believing in goodness when all you've known is grief? That is divine strength. That is sacred resilience, and it is no accident. On this day, June 19th, let it be known, heaven is beckoning. The road ahead will require faith, not the easy kind, but the kind that builds altars in deserts, the kind that walks on water, the kind that trusts even in the silence. You will have to let go of what you thought life should look like. You will have to forgive yourself for not knowing better. You will have to say goodbye to versions of you that can't walk into the next season. And it will hurt, but it will heal, because redemption is real. Restoration is possible, and rebirth is promised. God does not give warnings without offering a way, and the way is through surrender, through courage, through trust, through remembering that you are not what happened to you, you are what you choose next. Let today be a line drawn in the sand. Let today be the turning point. If you receive this on June 19, it's because heaven couldn't wait another day for you to see yourself clearly, to remember your worth, to reclaim your vision. You have a choice. Stay in the cycle or step into your calling. Stay in the comfort or walk into the unknown where miracles reside. The same spirit that hovered over the deep now hovers over you, whispering, live, dream again, forgive, begin. This isn't a warning to make you afraid. It's a warning to wake you up, to remind you that time is sacred, that your life is not random, that your pain is not wasted, that even the ashes hold beauty, even the night holds stars. Even now you are being shaped for something greater. Your future is not held by your past. Your identity is not determined by your mistakes. Your destiny is not derailed by detours. Lift your head, wipe your tears, silence the shame, and hear the voice of heaven. I am not done with you. Let this be the day you remember your authority, your light, your anointing. Let this be the day you stop playing small. Stop hiding your brilliance. Stop watering yourself down to be accepted. You were never meant to blend in. You were made to break chains, to shift atmospheres, to carry the presence of purpose wherever you go. Yes, the road will be hard. Yes, there will be resistance, but you are not alone. God goes before you. Heaven surrounds you. Angels war for you. And deep inside, your spirit knows this is the moment. So if you receive this on June 19, know that it is sacred. It is a turning. It is the whisper of God saying, I still believe in you. Now go, heal, grow, rise, speak, move, love, build, dream, and remember who you are. You were never forgotten. You were always chosen. And this is just the beginning. Amen. If your heart is still beating, then the story is still being written. If the light has not gone out, then the lamp of your soul still burns with purpose. And if these words find you now, on this day, it is because something in you is being called forth, not the polished, curated version of you the world may expect, but the raw, aching, wondrous truth of who you are underneath it all. God is not asking for the performance. He's asking for the honest you, the one who wonders if they're enough, the one who still remembers the sound of their own weeping, the one who despite everything has not given up. The road you've walked has not been easy. Some of your wounds run so deep they no longer bleed, they whisper, they ache, they echo in quiet moments when no one is watching. There were chapters where it felt like God was silent, where the heavens seemed to close, and you were left with nothing but your own thoughts and the weight of unanswered prayers. And yet you are here. You made it to this moment. Breathe that in. You didn't just survive, you endured. Through the nights you thought would never end, through the days where despair hovered like a storm, you carried on. And that is not weakness, that is sacred strength. We live in a world that often tries to define us by our speed, our productivity, our success. But God defines you by something else entirely. He sees not what you've done, but who you are becoming. The treasure is in the becoming. It's in the slow, steady transformation that happens in the hidden places. It's in the nights when you choose to speak life over yourself, even when no one else is listening. It's in the quiet mornings when you decide to rise again, despite everything in you telling you to stay down. There is holiness in your resilience. Heaven knows the cost of your perseverance. Every time you chose kindness when bitterness was easier, every time you forgave without an apology, every time you showed up for someone else while silently carrying your own heartbreak, those moments are not forgotten. They are not small. They are sacred. They are the tapestry of grace being woven through your life. You may not see it yet, but there is beauty being born from the places that tried to break you. This journey, as hard as it's been, is not in vain. The wilderness you've walked through has not been a punishment. It has been preparation. God often uses isolation before elevation. Before you step into the fullness of your calling, He ensures your foundation is deep enough to carry the weight of it. That's why you've had to be stripped. That's why the things that once satisfied you no longer do. That's why the doors you thought were blessings slammed shut. Because He loves you too much to let you build a life on sand. He wants your roots to go deep, deep enough to weather any storm, deep enough to draw from a well that doesn't run dry. And yes, growth hurts. Shedding the layers of who we used to be is not comfortable. It means confronting the lies we've believed, the patterns we've repeated, the wounds we've hidden. But this is what healing requires. Truth. Not just the truth of what happened, but the deeper truth of who you are in God's eyes. You are not your mistakes. You are not your trauma. You are not the abandonment or the betrayal or the shame. You are the beloved. You are chosen. You are called, and you are still becoming. If your life feels like it's unraveling, perhaps it's because it needs to be rewoven. Maybe the threads you once held on to so tightly were never meant to be part of the masterpiece. Maybe God is pulling at the seams not to destroy, but to remake, to reorder, to rebuild. Sometimes He allows things to fall apart, not because He is cruel, but because He is a master craftsman. And He knows that what is ahead requires more than what we are currently holding. So He invites us into the sacred tension, the space between what was and what will be. It is in this space that we are refined. This is not just a season, it is a sacred metamorphosis. And like the caterpillar that disappears into a cocoon, your transformation will not be visible to everyone. People may not understand your stillness. They may question your silence. They may misinterpret your retreat. But deep within, wings are forming. Vision is being restored. Identity is being rewritten. And when you emerge, you will not be who you were. You will carry the evidence of encounter, the fragrance of healing, the authority of someone who has been with God in the hidden places. And so if this moment feels unfamiliar, know that you are not lost. You are being led. The path may not look like what you imagined, but it is laced with divine intention. Even your detours are part of the design. Even your delays are woven with grace. Trust the timing. Trust the process. Trust the God who knows the end from the beginning and yet still chooses to walk with you through every step in between. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too far gone. That is the lie of despair. That is the language of fear. But faith speaks a different word. Faith says, come forth. Faith says, arise. Faith says what you've gone through will become the oil that anoints others. The very thing that tried to crush you will become the source of your authority. The enemy wanted your silence, but God is raising your voice. What if everything you've walked through has been preparing you to carry something that can't be learned in ease? What if your pain has carved out a deeper well of compassion, insight, and wisdom? What if your very wounds will one day speak healing to others? This is the sacred paradox of grace. It transforms what was meant for harm into a harvest. What was once a valley becomes the soil for vineyards. What was once ashes becomes beauty reborn. You don't need to know how it will all come together. You only need to know that it will. Your job is not to control the outcome. It is to stay present, to stay open, to stay willing. The God who called you is faithful to complete the work He began in you. So lean into this moment. Let June 19 mark the day you chose to believe again. Let it be the day you stopped asking for signs and started becoming one. You are a living testimony, a walking miracle, a vessel of divine possibility. And yes, you will still have questions. You will still face storms, but you will no longer face them as one who is powerless. You have authority now. You have wisdom now. You have scars that remind you of both the pain and the healing. You are no longer who you used to be, and that is a gift. You have been given a holy awakening, a fresh breath, a renewed vision. Use it well. Live with intention. Speak with truth. Love with abandon. Forgive recklessly. Give generously. Dream unapologetically. You were not created to play it safe. You are not designed for mediocrity. The spirit within you longs to move mountains, to part seas, to birth new realities. Do not let the familiarity of fear hold you hostage. You are capable of far more than you can comprehend. But first, you must believe, not just in what God can do, but in who He has made you to be. So rise, not with arrogance, but with holy confidence. The kind that knows you were chosen on purpose. The kind that walks into rooms not to impress, but to impact. The kind that shows up authentically, fully present, unapologetically real. Because your authenticity is your anointing. The world doesn't need more perfection. It needs your presence. It needs your truth. It needs your light. Let this day be sacred in your memory. Let it mark the moment when something deep within shifted, when you chose alignment over approval, purpose over performance, faith over fear. And in doing so, you stepped into the flow of who you were created to be. Not without scars, but with strength. Not without loss, but with clarity. Not without tears, but with hope. Because hope is not naive. Hope is defiant. It looks at the wreckage and still believes in restoration. It sees the darkness and still declares light. It knows that joy is not the absence of sorrow, but the presence of God in the midst of it. That is your portion, not empty happiness, but deep abiding joy that anchors your soul even when the winds rise. So breathe deeply, lift your head, place your hand on your heart, and remember you are still here, still chosen, still beloved. And you are not alone. There is a great cloud of witnesses cheering you on. There are unseen angels assigned to your steps. And there is a God who has never stopped believing in what He placed inside you. This is your time, not to perform, but to become. Not to chase validation, but to walk in conviction. Not to be everything to everyone, but to be exactly who you were created to be. Unfiltered, unshaken, unashamed. If you receive this on June 19, know that it is not an accident. Know that it is a divine invitation, a call to remembrance, a cry from heaven saying, you were made for more. And not because you've earned it, but because you were born for it. There is glory in you yet to be revealed. There are songs in your spirit yet to be sung. There are lives you have yet to touch. Do not underestimate what God can do with a willing heart. The world may only see your outer steps, but heaven sees the private wrestles, the inner wars, the quiet decisions to keep moving forward. And heaven rejoices in your yes, even if your yes is trembling, even if it's through tears, even if it's messy, because God doesn't need perfection. He needs surrender. So surrender, let go, trust again, heal again, love again, hope again. And know, beloved, this is not the end. This is the beginning. What if this moment, this sacred slice of time, was the hinge upon which your entire future turns? What if this day, June 19, was not a warning to fear, but an alarm clock of mercy ringing to awaken the deep places of your soul that have been sleeping under the blanket of survival? You see, the most dangerous form of sleep is not the one we fall into at night. It's the spiritual slumber we slip into while going through life on autopilot. We rise, we eat, we smile, we nod, but inside something has gone quiet, something precious, something powerful. And God in all His mercy sends a shaking not to destroy, but to wake, to stir, to resurrect. Because your soul was never meant to wither in silence. It was never meant to stay numb, to stay muted, to stay small. You were formed for vibrancy. You were designed to move with meaning, to walk with weight, to speak with authority. And when life chips away at your spirit, when betrayal bends your back low, when years of heartbreak settle like dust over your dreams, the divine steps in, not as a critic, but as a healer. God is not pointing a finger at you in judgment. He is extending a hand to pull you from the mire of disillusionment and bring you back to your center, to your purpose, to your why. There are moments when the entire sky feels like it's pressing down on your chest, when the world feels too loud and your prayers feel too small. In those moments, it's easy to believe the lie that nothing will ever change, that this is all there is, that your best days are behind you, and you are now only collecting the remnants of what used to be vibrant hope. But beloved, that is not your truth. That is the sound of fatigue. That is the whisper of weariness, not the voice of destiny. Let me tell you what is true. You are still becoming. The fire in your soul may be flickering, but it has not gone out. You may feel buried, but you are planted. And in the right season, with the right light and the right rain, you will rise again, not as who you were, but as someone entirely new. And not new in the sense of never broken, but new in the way gold is refined by flame. The cracks in your soul are not weaknesses. They are the lines where the light gets in, where the oil of healing is poured, where the voice of God echoes loudest. Sometimes the warning isn't about impending doom. It's about divine disruption. It's about God loving you too much to let you keep pretending, because pretending is exhausting. Pretending to be okay, pretending to have it all together, pretending to feel nothing when your heart is a swirl of grief and longing. It weighs you down. And the warning comes not as a curse, but as a sacred invitation to drop the mask, to step into authenticity, to walk naked before God, bruises and all, and know that you are still accepted, still loved, still called. There is such profound beauty in the human journey, the peaks and the valleys, the light and the dark, the victories and the losses. Each part matters. Each scar tells a story. And maybe you've been waiting for your life to finally make sense before you begin again. But that's not how transformation works. It rarely comes with clarity. It comes with courage.
It comes when you say yes in the middle of the fog, when you choose to hope even as your knees tremble. When you choose to believe not because you have proof, but because you have a whisper, a divine sense that there is more to your life than this moment. You may have walked through disappointment so deep it made you question everything, your identity, your choices, your faith. You may have poured yourself into relationships, careers, ministries, dreams, only to watch them unravel before your eyes. And maybe you blamed yourself. Maybe you started to believe the lie that you are too broken to carry something meaningful again. But hear me, God is not afraid of your brokenness. In fact, He specializes in it. He meets you in the rubble and begins to rebuild something stronger, something wiser, something holier. If you've been wandering, if you've been questioning, if you've been carrying shame like a second skin, then let this be your permission to come home. Not to the life you had before, but to the life you were always meant to live. A life marked by peace, not perfection. A life where your spirit breathes deeply, not just survives. A life where you walk in your truth, no longer edited for others' comfort. Sometimes the warning from God is not beware of danger, but beware of delay. Beware of staying too long in a place you've outgrown. Beware of holding on to what you should have released seasons ago. Beware of calling stillness peace when it's actually paralysis. God will let you sit in discomfort long enough to realize that your wings are being clipped by your own fear. And then He'll offer you the courage to rise. And when that courage comes, it won't roar like a lion. It will whisper like wind. It will come in the quiet, knowing that you were made for more than merely existing. That the Spirit of God lives within you, not to be dormant, but to move, to guide, to ignite. There is no such thing as a life too far gone for God to redeem. There is no pit so deep that grace cannot reach it. There is no history so heavy that it disqualifies you from hope. You are a vessel of stories yet untold. You are a carrier of light, even when all you've seen lately is darkness. And maybe, just maybe, this season of breaking has been about opening, not destruction, but expansion. God does not prune what He is not preparing to grow. And if you've been feeling cut back, trust that there is a harvest coming. But it starts with surrender, with saying, I don't know where this road leads, but I trust the one who's leading. Do not let this day pass without pausing, without reflecting on what must shift in your life, without answering the sacred call to rise higher, not in ego, but in purpose. The world doesn't need another perfect image. It needs your authentic impact. And your impact comes when you live unafraid of your own light, when you stop apologizing for your calling, when you stop minimizing your gifts because someone else couldn't understand them. You were not meant to fit into everyone's mold. You were meant to shatter molds and redefine what faith looks like, what purpose feels like, what redemption sounds like. You are a pioneer in your own right, carving paths with every step of obedience, even when it's quiet, even when no one claps, even when you feel unseen. Because you are never unseen by God. Even the parts of you that you try to hide, your doubts, your weaknesses, your grief, He sees them all and still calls you His, still calls you worthy, still calls you forward. So come forward, come fully, come honestly. Let June 19 not just be a day you remember, but a day that redefines you. Let it be the moment you stopped waiting for permission and started walking in purpose. Let it be the day your healing wasn't a distant hope, but a present reality. Let it be the day you stopped fearing the unknown and started trusting the unseen. You are more than what happened to you. You are more than the years you lost, more than the mistakes you made, more than the dreams that didn't come to pass. You are a living redemption story, and your next chapter hasn't even been written yet. So write it with faith, with fire, with intentionality. Write it like someone who knows their life is a gift, like someone who knows their presence carries weight, like someone who believes, even now, that the best is still to come, because it is. The best is not just some distant concept reserved for those who've gotten it all right. The best is what happens when you partner with God in the present moment and dare to live fully. The best is when you begin to speak to your soul with compassion, when you extend grace to your past, and when you lean into your future with courage. This life will still bring battles, but now you fight with a new clarity, a new authority, a new awareness that you are not fighting alone. God fights with you, not behind you, not above you, but within you. And when God is within you, there is nothing too broken to be restored, nothing too far gone to be brought back to life. So breathe again, believe again, begin again. You are still here, and that means something. That means everything. If you are still listening, still reading, still standing, then something in your soul recognizes truth, even when it's whispered through broken places. And that, beloved, is no small thing. That is sacred. Because in a world full of noise, full of distractions, full of counterfeit comforts that promise relief but never deliver peace, to pause and be present with your spirit is a rare and holy act. It means your heart is still teachable. It means your hope is still alive, even if only flickering in the corners of your soul. That flicker is more powerful than you know, because God can do more with your flickering hope than the world can with empty certainty. There is something so profoundly redemptive about your willingness to lean into this moment, not to run from your pain, not to silence your questions, not to numb your heart, but to be here open, breathing, longing. It is a quiet revolution. The world teaches us to avoid discomfort, to shield ourselves from sorrow, to edit out all the jagged edges. But transformation never happens in avoidance. It happens in encounter, in the sacred willingness to sit with what is broken, not with despair, but with expectation. Expectation that God is not finished, that there is something more beneath the surface, that healing is not a theory, it is a process, a journey, and yes, a promise. Some of the most beautiful stories ever written began in shadows. They didn't start with applause or perfection or easy victories. They began in silence, in darkness, in isolation, in places that felt abandoned, overlooked, and misunderstood. But even in those places, something was taking root. Something was growing, stretching, breaking through the hard soil. And what was once hidden eventually became the most vibrant, undeniable evidence that life cannot be extinguished, not when it's anchored in divine purpose. Maybe you've been waiting for a sign that it's time to start over. Maybe you've been silently crying for confirmation that your pain isn't pointless, that your detour wasn't a mistake. So hear this now, not as poetic words, but as a sacred charge. It is not over.
You are not lost. And nothing you've walked through has been wasted. The tears you've cried were not in vain. The silent nights, the aching mornings, the fragile prayers you barely managed to whisper, they are seeds. And seeds don't bloom in the light. They bloom after they've been buried, after the pressure of the soil has tested their strength, after time and patience and surrender have done their hidden work. There is a version of you that has not yet been revealed, a version not defined by failure or regret or the opinions of others.
a version shaped by love, refined by grace, and filled with the kind of wisdom that only comes through walking with God through both the fire and the stillness. That version of you is waiting, not on the other side of achievement or perfection, but on the other side of surrender. It begins when you stop fighting yourself, when you release the need to have it all figured out, when you let go of who you think you should be and embrace who you already are, loved, chosen, worthy. This is not about pretending to be fearless. It's about choosing to move forward even with trembling hands. It's about allowing the tears to fall while still taking that next step. Because courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to rise above it, to say, I will not let my fear write the ending to my story. That kind of decision shifts atmospheres. It moves mountains. It opens doors that fear tried to lock shut. There will always be reasons to wait, to delay, to shrink back into comfort. But what if this moment, this day, is not just any ordinary day? What if it's sacred ground? What if heaven has been waiting for your agreement, your yes, however fragile it feels, to release a flood of grace, provision, clarity, and alignment? God does not move through force. He moves through invitation, through partnership, through yielded hearts. He doesn't need you to be perfect. He needs you to be present. Presence is power. When you show up fully, something changes. You begin to live from your core, not your conditioning. You begin to speak from your convictions, not your insecurities. You begin to act from purpose, not pressure. That shift, however subtle, is everything. It means you are no longer merely surviving. You are beginning to live. Let that reality soak into your bones. You were not created just to survive. You were not created to constantly apologize for your existence, to hide your brilliance behind the fear of rejection, to water down your voice so others feel comfortable. You were created to reflect divine light in a way that only you can. No one else carries your fingerprint, your perspective, your story. You are not random. You are not excess. You are intentional. Even your waiting seasons are sacred. Even the years that feel like a blur of disappointment and longing, they are not void of purpose. Sometimes God hides you not to punish you, but to protect you, to prepare you, to shape you in the secret place, away from the eyes and expectations of others, so that when you emerge, you carry substance, not just shine. You carry wisdom, not just words. You carry power, not just a platform. And when you rise from that hidden place, you will walk differently, not in arrogance, but in assurance, not in pride, but in peace. You will not need to prove yourself to anyone, because you will know who you are, not from external affirmation, but from internal alignment. You will have met yourself in the valley. You will have seen the face of God in the wilderness. You will have learned that even when everything around you feels uncertain, you are still anchored in something unshakable. Your journey matters, every part of it. Not just the polished moments that look good on paper or social media, but the messy, complicated, painful parts too. Those are the places where empathy is born, where compassion grows, where true ministry begins, not from having it all together, but from having been through enough to sit with others in their brokenness and still see beauty. Because that's the gift you carry now. You see beauty in unlikely places. You find light in the dark. You see people not for what they pretend to be, but for who they truly are beneath the performance. And that is a rare gift in a world addicted to image. Don't underestimate that gift. Don't downplay your ability to love deeply, to see clearly, to create meaning where others only see chaos. You are a bridge for others, a lighthouse in stormy seas. And you don't need to wait until you feel completely healed or whole to step into that role. Your healing is happening even as you walk, even as you serve, even as you speak and create and love and build. You are not behind. You are right on time. You are in the middle of your unfolding, and there is still so much more to be written. Let June 19 be the day you stop disqualifying yourself from joy. Let it be the day you forgave yourself for not knowing then what you know now. Let it be the day you released the weight of other people's expectations and came back to the quiet, steady truth of your soul. You are not called to be everything for everyone. You are called to be exactly who you are, rooted in truth, guided by grace, and lit from within. You will face resistance. Not everyone will understand your journey. Some will question your choices, misinterpret your silence, or walk away when you no longer fit the version of you they were comfortable with. Let them. Release them with love. Your path is not for everyone to approve. It is for you to honor. Stay faithful to the voice within, to the one who called you, to the vision that keeps waking you up in the middle of the night. That vision is holy. It's not just a good idea, it's a God idea. And God doesn't plant dreams without the intention to bring them to life. This is the divine dance, trusting the unseen, moving before the miracle, believing before the evidence. It is not easy, but it is worth it. Every time you say yes to your becoming, the world shifts. Someone else finds courage. Someone else remembers their own dream. Someone else is inspired to rise. Your journey is not just about you. It's about the lives connected to your obedience, to your authenticity, to your willingness to grow out loud. And that is why you must keep going, not just for your own sake, but for the sake of those who are watching you, learning from you, drawing hope from your resilience. So keep rising, keep choosing light, keep believing in the power of redemption. Let every wound become a well. Let every scar become a song. Let every loss become a lesson, and every trial become a testimony, because you are the evidence that grace is real, that purpose can rise from pain, that beginnings often come disguised as endings, that warnings are not curses, they are calls to alignment, that God is still in the business of making all things new. And this moment is just the beginning.